welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. We're so super excited for you to be joining us again today for another incredible guest. We're just so honoured to have these incredible people on the show sharing their stories about how you can create a successful mindset. And on today's show, we have the amazing Margot Foster. Hello, Margot.
Hello, Michelle. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so wonderful having you on the show. And for those of you that aren't aware of the amazing Margot, wow, the amazing Margot has been involved. You're forever now known as the amazing.
That's right. A magician. I'm a magician.
That's it. Well, a magician of sports in the sporting, a magician of sorts in the sporting arena. So Margot, as unassuming as she looks here on the screen at the moment, she is actually not only an accomplished lawyer and governance executive with her own business today, but she's also an Olympic and Commonwealth champion, gold medal champion at that, who has not only excelled in her earlier days in that career in rowing, but she now has excelled and succeeded to the point where she was recognised with an Order of Australia medal for her contribution to sports and to sports governance. But I am fascinated, Margot. Please share with the viewers how you came to be involved in sports and how that then perhaps led to lawyering and governance. It's a fascinating story, I'm sure.
Well, there are a few strands there, Michelle. So I'll start with the fact that I grew up in a very sporty family. So we all played sport. We all played a lot of sport. I went to university and I swam and I played tennis, and at school I'd done netball, and then I was at one of the residential colleges at Melbourne Uni, and in third year of my 5-year course I took up rowing, and I hadn't wanted to go rowing. I'd never thought about rowing in my life until I went to college, and I resisted a bit initially, and then finally I relented, went down, ducked to water staff, the rest is history. And I carried on from there. So what I was very lucky about was the timing, was because I started at university and I'd finished university by the time I hit the big time in rowing. And I was working, doing my articles back then as a lawyer, and a whole other reason I'd set up my own legal practice, so I was managing my own time. And so for some years, including going to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, I was running my own legal practice and rowing at the elite international level. And at one stage, I worked out that in the 4-year period, I'd taken a whole year out of the office. I had locums in place, and the practice survived. And when at university too, I'd taken up some roles with my student college committee and also with my boat club committee. So I had all these strands happening at the same time. And when I finished rowing, and there's a whole story about that as well, I was well placed to take next steps in my board career and also continue my legal practice. So yes, I was fortunate. Right time, right place, and basically I said, yes, let's have a crack.
I love that expression, duck to water. It shows again how when people find something that they're really passionate about, it just seems to flow and connect as easily as that. But I know you make it sound so simple and easy. You know, you took nearly a year off while you had your own legal practice to be able to compete at that elite level. But that's such an incredible achievement in terms of time management and all of those other areas, to be able to keep going with both your own legal practice and the elite level. With such a successful and, very distinguished, I want to recognise that as well, background, what would you say is now your definition of success?
Oh, I think success it can be measured in many ways and can present in many forms. So, obviously succeeding on the international stage in rowing has been an obvious success. I think the fact that I ran my own legal practice is for many years is also successful, and people very early on said, "Oh, you're so brave," and maybe I was, and maybe I was a bit foolhardy. But what I did find aided my success, alluding to what you said before, Michelle, was time management. And basically, I took the view that when I was doing what I was doing, I would concentrate on that, and I wouldn't worry about what I wasn't doing. So when I was rowing, I wasn't thinking about working. When I was working, I wasn't thinking about rowing, other than in sort of the abstract. And I think I also taught myself, in order to to be successful, or as successful as I could be with whatever I did, not to stress about the things that I couldn't do or wasn't doing. Not to say that I wouldn't work on them or try and improve things, but yes, I taught myself along the way not to be stressed and to manage my time really well. So they are sort of the tools to my success, and I continue to employ them to this day.
Fabulous. And would you say now that your success and your definition for you personally might be more tied into freedom and flexibility? Because I heard a little bit of that as well.
Well, I've always worked for myself, because I determined a long time ago that I'm unemployable, so I really got no choice. And yeah, so freedom and flexibility, and what that's been able to allow me to do. And I happily ceased being a lawyer a few years ago, but it's allowed me the freedom to develop programs that I'm now running, which are basically designed to help directors be as effective as they can be. Because as I mentioned before, I've been on a large number of boards, starting from back when I was at university, and I've learned a lot, and I just think that I've got the skills and experience from a huge range of boards to be able to apply myself and my time to helping directors. So that freedom allows me to pretty much choose my path, and yeah, I'm very happy with the choices that I've been able to make.
And what incredible choices to, you know, make a success of not just a legal practice and a legal career, but also an elite level Olympic and Commonwealth Games career. And then to decide then, well, I'm going to go off and focus on the governance side of it and make a success of the director's side of things. With so many, you know, accolades and awards and all of these incredible things. And again, I don't want to minimize any of it, because there's just so much that you've created and been successful at. I'm sure many people watching would be really interested in what sort of suggestions. We talked a little bit about the time management one, but what other sorts of suggestions would you make about creating that mindset for success?
Well, I was reminded at the weekend, I caught up with a friend whose daughter I had a conversation with, I think in pre-COVID times, pre-plague times, and she was a young woman in, you know, late teens, early 20s. And my friend Ian told me when we spoke the other day that Sarah often refers to, what would Margot do? and I'd forgotten about the conversation, but what I'd said to Sarah, and I think this is what I applied to myself, was just say yes. You know, when you get an opportunity to go somewhere or do something, even if you don't know anybody, even if you're not sure about what's going to happen, just say yes, just go, because the opportunities that can flow from that random conversation or that interesting anecdote or that bit of professional advice that you might hear in whatever the forum or setting is, can just be, you know, provide all those light bulb moments that you just think, oh, I could use that, or I could do that. Oh, what about that? That was a really good thought. So saying yes, I think, is a really positive way to approach activities. And I've always been one who's fairly confident enough about going somewhere if I don't know people. Not everybody is, I agree, but you can always leave. You can always leave. You don't have to stay the whole occasion if it's not for you or it's not comfortable. I think
that's a really, really great point there about just saying yes. I really do. And every now and then I go back and watch the Yes Man movie with Jim Carrey in it, because to me, it describes exactly what you're talking about so perfectly. By saying yes, even if you don't necessarily like the activity or the thing you said yes to, you actually don't know where it will lead. And the amazing and interesting people or ideas or suggestions that you might have from actually saying yes. In fact, I know that recently when I was visiting Melbourne, and this is where I met Margot, because I said yes to going to an Optimist breakfast. And it was something that, was a little bit difficult to fit into my timetable. But I said yes because I thought, I want to be somewhere where everybody's talking about being optimistic, and met all of these incredible people like Margot that are just living this yes as part of their lives.
Yes. Oh, look, that's quite right. Well, I was a bit the same. Admittedly, it was really easy for me to go to that very enjoyable Optimist breakfast because it was literally around the corner from where I lived. Didn't have to make the trek from anywhere. But yeah, I didn't know anybody there. Well, I did, apart from one person. But yeah, it was a really interesting, eye-opening, and it's brought us together, Michelle, which has been terrific. And of course, you'll always go to things that you go, really, I'll never get that time back again. But that's not the way to think about your response to the next opportunity. The other thing I'd say too is constant learning. It's really interesting when, as a lawyer, you're required to do, X number of hours of CPD, and you go, God, do I really have to do this? And it's going to cost me money. And now I find doing what I'm doing with boards, both on boards and advising boards and directors, is that I just lap up every opportunity that I get to learn something new or hear what I know put differently. And I have to say that there's not a lot that I hear that's new, but in a way that's really affirming as well. To say, well, I already think that, I know that, this is how I do it, or whatever the case may be. So I think learning is a really key thing to ensuring that you're going to be successful, and then you're not just relying on the things that you know, or you think or the way you think about things, because everything's changing, as we know.
I know that's a really fabulous point about constant learning. And we've never been at a better time where you can go onto LinkedIn or YouTube or anywhere and actually learn things. Whatever you want to learn, there's bound to be something out there that you can go and read up about or watch a video about.
Oh, that's right. And I'm a bit of a competitive beastie, and so rather partial to doing quizzes. And so when the satisfaction of having had a wide range of reading, a lot of general knowledge that underpins my more particular knowledge, really stands me in good stead generally, and also because I like to do well in quizzes.
I actually have another friend that's really into quizzes as well and travels all over Australia. It's interesting, the people that love to do that. But again, they say yes to quizzes wherever, because it just keeps expanding their general knowledge and their knowledge about specific areas.
Yes.
But I love this constant learning idea, especially as with technology changing and people perhaps being a little bit unclear about what may happen with their job in the future. There's the opportunity to now learn about and study and watch videos about all sorts of different jobs that may or may not suit what you want to do, but they can help you to actually go through and identify, well, these are what I'm good at and this is what I like to do, and these are the types of people that do those types of jobs. So much different to reading that old book, what colour is my parachute?
Yes, actually. I also think that the general knowledge, general reading, general understanding about how the world works also works to your point about getting jobs and applying for jobs with knowledge. Because if you can engage in conversation with the recruiters in broad sense before you get down to the nitty-gritty, then they'll assess you as a well-rounded person as well, rather than someone who's just particularly focused on a niche area. And really, in this day and age, information of whatever sort is in my view, real power.
It is. And because there is access to more information than ever before, it's actually developing as another skill set for success, that skill to be able to sort through the information, identify what's useful and what's not useful.
Yeah.
I thought I'd probably just actually also mention, if people can hear a dinging in the background, Margot's coming to us from Melbourne. And so it's one of the most wonderful Melbourne things, hearing the trams dinging.
Oh, can you hear the trams?
You can hear the trams.
Oh, I don't even notice them anymore. They're literally out the window.
So that's fine. I think it's one of those wonderful things about doing videos like this, that you can actually, or interviews like this, that you can actually hear people in situ in their real life situations. And it's wonderful to hear the trams dinging the bell outside the window.
The other thing I was going to add, if I may, Michelle, is avoid self-deprecating language. And I think that that's, you know, oh, I'm just, or I hope to be, or whatever. And I was reminded of this at a recent event, and a new director on a board that I'm involved with said that she hoped that she would be able to contribute. And I said, no, you will contribute. And I think the self-deprecating talk is also quite destructive. Puts you behind the eight ball, even if you don't say it out loud, you just sort of think, well, will I, can I, should I? And my take on things, certainly with boards, if you're on a board, you're there to be an equal, you're there to have your opinion heard, and of course you're going to make a contribution of some sort. Mightn't be immediate, might take time, but yeah, just avoid the self-deprecating language, particularly out loud.
That is such a wonderful, wonderful tip, because it's also a part of different cultures. So years ago, I had this example, I think it was when I was doing some postgraduate studies, this example of different cultures, and it may or may not be true today, but people will get the general idea. So if you were to ask, say, somebody with a master's in Italian in Australia, can you speak Italian and do you know Italian? They might say, oh, I know a little bit. If you were to say perhaps to somebody from America that had done a YouTube course for a couple of weeks on Italian, do you know Italian? Can you speak Italian? They would say, yeah, I'm an expert at Italian, because the different cultures here in Australia, we are much more self-deprecating. In America, people can be talking themselves up a bit more, and not everybody, but as a cultural example, that's what I'm trying to stress here. And so to be aware of that many people from other cultures, and the world is global now, so it doesn't matter where you're from, but many people can actually come from a culture where they're a lot more assertive and confident about their skills and abilities. So that self-deprecating language that you may have learnt from your culture, and I'm using the Australian culture, but Southeast Asian cultures can be the same, where, being quiet and is a sign of respect. So in those sorts of instances, being aware that you may have some sort of cultural influences, so not saying, and you used a really good example, because she hoped she would be able to contribute, is something that I can even remember from years ago, me saying in meetings and in boards, I hope I can help out here, or something like that. And of course, if you're there to help out. You're not hoping to help.
So I think she could have said, I look forward to contributing as I become more familiar with the business of the board, or something like that, which would be entirely reasonable. But I just think it's just something to be aware of, and notwithstanding the cultural differences.
Yeah, and I think also, especially if you're new to something, whether it's a new job or a new board or a new whatever, saying that you're excited about being there and learning more is so much more of a positive way to say, I'm happy about being here. I appreciate I may not know everything that I need to know at this point in time, but focusing on that excitement and happiness about being there at that point I think is a great way to, again, getting around if you have got a natural way of putting yourself down or trying to not put yourself out there too quickly.
No, I agree. It's just an observation that I've made, along with the, learning and saying yes as being elements to success.
Yeah, and I think that one of the other sidebars from that self-deprecating language that you might use outwardly is also what you're saying to yourself then. I hope, I'm trying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. Instead of using what I would call strength-based language, even to yourself. I may not have 20 years experience on this board, but I'm coming in with a completely new, fresh set of eyes that the board desperately needs, or the company. You can replace board with company.
Yes, indeed.
So using that same language, self-talk is how I would describe it, to yourself. And I guess one of my questions would be then, with yourself and the transition points from being an elite athlete, an elite rower, having your own business, and then setting up this new, as a lawyer, and now setting up this business a while ago as a directors and governance specialist. What would you say to people with some of the self-talk that you use to help get through some perhaps maybe imposter syndrome, or, I hope I can help sort of syndrome?
So through my programs and the work that I do with boards, it's all about trying to generate confidence through knowledge. So if you know what the board procedures are, and you know how boards are supposed to work in the board, and you understand your role as a director, which is completely different from being an employee or a boss or whatever, then you can be an incredibly effective director with lots of confidence and the ability to make those contributions in the meeting, to be aware that your knowledge and your appreciation of what's going on at the board, and let me tell you, they're all different, good, the bad, or the indifferent, and so you can learn how to make the most of your opportunities, and that's what I'm really keen on doing. So learning confidence, not per se, it's not a confidence teaching approach, but it's knowledge, it's confidence through knowledge and understanding. And the thing about governance, Michelle, is it's never 1 + 1 = 2. And there's always challenges about, some boards we've always done it this way, or other boards that are resistant to change, or other boards that think that, their role is to do X, Y, and Z, but not to do A, B, and C. Understanding, where the merging of management and the board happens. I mean, there are so many elements. And the other thing too is that this confidence through knowledge approach that I take is designed to help people deal with every situation, or as many situations as possible that can arise, because there will never be one that's exactly the same as another, regardless of what board you're on. You'll never see the same fact situation repeat itself. So knowing the basics, having all the tips, tricks and insights that I've learned over the years, many of which you can't read about in books, I think is really key to being successful in the area that I'm now, devoting my time to, and about which I'm really enthusiastic, because it's got such great opportunity for so many people to really make a contribution on their boards, whether they're, local club, associations, small companies, not-for-profits, charities, whatever you like. And it's great. I'm really excited about it.
Wow, and I can really hear that excitement, Margot, and I really hear how 1 + 1 doesn't necessarily equal 2, which is a really interesting element. And I appreciate how one of the success tips that you have there is about using knowledge to build that confidence. So understanding, and as I do about your programs and your courses, that you're a very practical based person. So it's not just learning, you know, ACD or company rules, but it's actually being able to practically implement them so that you're not trying to help out. You actually, you know you are helping out because you understand the motions, the this, the that, all of the flow and the processes of boards, and that confidence comes from having that practical knowledge.
And the confidence and the understanding also then helps to underpin board culture. And you know, board culture and culture generally is such a hot button topic these days. But unless people are confident with knowing how things work and the basis on which they can then have conversations, make decisions, which is all about, you know, having a cohesive relationship with everybody else around the table and with management, and you know, developing that culture and working on that culture is extremely difficult. So it all goes, knowledge, culture, confidence, all goes hand in hand.
It does, and whether we're talking about boards like now, or companies, or your team at work, or even in your own small business, it's a similar kinds of concepts about having that confidence that comes from knowledge. And Margot, I could talk to you for hours about this because it's such a fascinating subject, but what's the best way for people to get hold of you?
Probably through LinkedIn. At the moment, I have a website under construction that's taking a long time to build, consistent with the shortages we find in the real construction industry. But on LinkedIn, or I'm happy to give you an email if you wish, Michelle.
Well, yes, please give people an email.
Okay. It's M for Mary, F for Fred, at margotfoster.com.au.
Fabulous.
Margot with a T, MARGOTFOST.com.au. And I'd be delighted to have a conversation with anybody about anything boardy, governance-y, whatever you like. Or even rowing.
Rowing, yeah, I was going to say, or even people, and I'm sure there'll be people that will be watching that will be sports minded. So even, you know, reach out to Margot if you wanted to find out some more about being in sports administration and governance, because it's huge. You know, you just can look at football here and around the world, and it's big business and lots of money and very important roles.
Lots of opportunity too.
Yeah, fabulous. And Margot, one of my favourite questions to ask people is if they were to give some advice to their younger self, what might that advice be?
Yeah, I thought about this, and I think that it would be for me now. I've always been incredibly self-sufficient and self-reliant, and I think I probably should have asked for more help, more assistance, more guidance along the way. I mean, I don't know that I've missed out for not doing it, but I think I probably would have, you know, upon reflection and answering this question, ask people for their help and guidance. You don't have to be a rock, you don't have to be an island. And that's probably what I'd do differently. Not to say that I don't talk to a lot of people about a lot of things, but I probably could have asked for a bit more help that was probably a bit deeper.
And what wonderful suggestions from somebody that, you know, has had such a distinguished and outstanding career, you know, Commonwealth, Olympic gold medalist, set up her own business, finished with that business and now set up a different business. And even you, Margot, was saying, you know, perhaps reaching out and getting more support along the way to share that journey. That's what I'm hearing. It's about sharing that journey. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's been delightful. Thank you.
Wonderful. And to all of the amazing viewers out there, we are so grateful for you tuning in again today to hear some more incredible tips from yet another specialist in her field. And so from today, it's the end of the show. So from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.